Hello everyone and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. As you look out over the vast ocean of people that descended on the nation's capital and descend every year in commemoration of the Supreme Court ruling legalizing the Holocaust of the unborn, a thought strikes you. Amid all the festivities and bright banners and signs and cheering and applause and speeches, one lone thought kind of hangs out there. This has become too much of a habit. While the good guys gather to commemorate, the killing goes on with no end in sight. This was the 38th annual March for Life, wonderfully orchestrated by Nellie Gray and her very competent staff of very dedicated helpers. But the whole thing is too common. Year after year, we hear gangs of people on the street saying, "See you next year," without intending it to be. It's a tipping of the hat to the reality that abortion is going nowhere. It is as much a part of the landscape now as the annual march is. The question needs to be asked, why? 400,000 people came to D.C. this year, although if you believe the mainstream media reports, it was about 37 people. 400,000 people in icy cold conditions, back again with plans to return next year. At the close of the annual Rose Dinner, Nellie Gray announced that she had already secured the permit for next year's march. God bless her. But there's the reality. There's something we aren't doing right. We not only come to D.C. each year, we make plans to come back because we know the next time we march, another 1.2 million lives will have been killed in the womb surgically and a few 100,000 more snuffed out through chemical abortions. As much as the pro-abortion folks hate to see us there, they would hate even more for us to not be there. Each year we march means another year they have won. And there's one reason why. As long as this culture maintains and holds on to a contraceptive mentality, the killing will continue. Abortion isn't the issue, it's the symptom of a much deeper problem. Contraception sets up in the mind the model that sex is for pleasure, that we are disconnected from the true end of sex, which is procreation. A contracepting couple denies the role of the divine in their act and replaces that aspect with nothing more than bodily pleasure. Having dismissed God from their action, they have dismissed the reality of the spiritual and assumed nothing more than the role of the merely physical, the animal. Their actions turn in on themselves, the personal, individual pleasure of each person. They participate in an act bereft of any reference to God, which is evil in itself because it is the one natural act whereby humans can be raised to participation in the divine. When an act is made void of its original intent, what flows from that act is now a different intent. But the problem is that the act is still grounded in the reality that sex, sooner or later, when no medical impossibilities exist, most certainly can lead to pregnancy and quite often does. Contraception, or any birth control for that fact, only lessens the chances, sometimes, of becoming pregnant. It does not eliminate those chances. Just ask almost anyone you know if you need proof. In fact, of the 1.2 million surgical abortions last year in the U.S., 80% were unintended pregnancies. In over half of those cases, the couple was using some form of contraception. That's roughly 500,000, 500,000 times that contraception failed and a child was murdered because of it. The reason? Because as humans withdraw from the divine, they revert to the merely physical and operate from their base animal instincts more than their spiritual. Human beings, on a scale never before witnessed in human history, are killing their young. And the underlying reason is because of the contraceptive mentality, which has seized hold of the culture, a mentality that is focused on nothing but self-pleasure and instant gratification. For Catholic leaders to refuse to preach about the evil of contraception, the physical evil which results in abortion, the spiritual evil which results in objective mortal sin, the psychological evil that causes the couple to view each other as something less than a full person. For Catholic leaders to dodge this issue, to duck and weave around it, to avoid it in the pulpit and essentially ignore it in marriage counseling means they are complicit in the resultant killing. A wicked mindset has gripped the culture and has penetrated deep into the psyche of the faithful, because they live and breathe in this culture. This mindset has not been challenged in any substantive way on the ground where people live. It's never really talked about. It's never really brought up. It's ignored in CCD classes, doesn't appear on the syllabus of most RCIA classes. As long as the contraceptive mentality rules the day, the killing will go on. So as long as the Catholic leadership refuses to speak out en masse, loudly, boldly, strongly, and insistently with the truth of Jesus Christ and the passion of St. Paul, with the wisdom of the fathers and the knowledge of the doctors, nothing will change. It is the Catholic Church's duty and obligation to preach this truth. To the Church has been entrusted the fullness of the truth. Leaders in the Church don't get to ignore truth because they will get assaulted for it, especially bishops, most especially bishops. But until they begin to raise a loud collective voice, a strong, moral, resounding voice about the evil of contraception, go ahead and make your plans for the annual march again in 2012 and 2013 and 2014. See you next year. God bless you. I'm Michael Voris.
Please help us keep delivering these kinds of messages that so desperately need to be heard and acted on. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber. Become immersed in the faith established by Jesus Christ. The Catholic Church is the only hope against evil because that is its God-given mission. As our Lord said, apart from me, you can do nothing. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber and come to learn and love Christ more deeply.